conviction. And I would like to also state that in the past year or so, 3 major cases are already in court. And that is why I find it difficult to understand why when people are talking about prosecutions, they are not referring to those cases. Randy, you are aware that we are in case with the OBS issue, SNIT. We are in court with NCA, and as well, we are in court with the third other matter. 3 cases, major cases, COCOBOT. 3 major cases are in court as we speak. There are others that dockets are being prepared by the police and IOCO to be forwarded to us. And we will review the same. If we review same and we come to the conclusion that they are prosecutable, then we will proceed to court. But if we come to the conclusion that when we move to court, we will end up disgracing ourselves, we will not put such cases before court. But I can assure you that whatever we are supposed to do as an Attorney General's department will be done. You know, I think those of you who know Madame Gloria Kufu know what she stands for. Very stern, very principled, and very strong-willed lady at that. And she will not compromise her integrity for anything. And it isn't the case that somebody has gone to sleep. There are case dockets that are before us for advice, and we've gone to sleep, we've decided not to do it or anything of the sort. All those who are making those allegations, some of them do not have a shred of evidence as to why, whether or not particular dockets have been forwarded to us.
They create the impression that they're in conversation with some of the people at the security agencies who have done the investigations. And the information they get from them, they say that is the basis of the anger. That information they get from those quarters are that they've concluded their investigations. They've done everything. It is left for you at the Aegis department to pick up those files and head to court. And they don't understand why, after they've done all those works, you guys are still there and you're not prosecuting. They mention double salary. They mention double salary. That comes up prominently. And they mention a few others. And you see, this also comes at the heels of the allegations that were made by the special prosecutor, which I read that you had also spoken to,
yes,
where he also says things to the effect that there is a lack of cooperation to enable him prosecute. So he makes that allegation, and then you have this seeming groundswell of agitation by your own people against the Aegis department. And then it looks like it is the Aegis, her deputies, and her department that are standing in the way.
That is absolute falsehood. It's untrue. You see, we cannot come to the media every day and tell you how far we've gone with prosecutions. We can't do that. All that will be done in court. There's a particular case, and I'm not going to mention the title, a very major one. When it was brought before us, we went for review of the docket, and we realized that it involves over 200 districts in the country. And the information that was before us was, from less than 50.
Oh.
So how are you going to go to court prosecuting with information from 50 when, in fact, all 200 and something districts were affected? So we've had to ask investigators to go to all the other districts to bring us information. And that does not take a day or two. It takes months. Very intensive investigations and all that. There are other such like cases, Randy, that are coming up for review. And when they come up, we review the dockets. You see, sometimes we review the dockets.
Take us through, just for the benefit of our viewers.
Yes.
Take us through the process.
Now, first of all, when a report is made at the police station or at IOCO, they do the investigations, okay? And they build a duplicate docket and forward it to Attorney General's department for us to now review and advise. So when they build a duplicate docket and it is forwarded to the Attorney General's department, the Attorney General has put up a team.
What does a duplicate docket entail? What is in it?
It entails the statements from the accused persons and witnesses or will be witnesses, and then other documents or pieces of information that have been gathered as a result of investigations conducted into such matters.
Okay.
Okay? And so when such dockets are now brought to our attention, she has constituted a team. And that team is normally required to retire to a secluded location to review the documents and come up with charges to be preferred against such people. You remember, those charges that are normally preferred by the security agencies are preliminary, and that when we review them, sometimes we drop all those charges and bring fresh charges or no charges at all, depending on the circumstances.
Or you go ahead with their charges.
Absolutely, or sometimes we go ahead with their charges. So in this particular matter, when the things come
the
before
charges
us,
they prefer, sorry, but the charges they prefer, do those charges constitute a recommendation for prosecution?
not necessarily. Not necessarily. So that's why I'm saying that, you know, sometimes those who do the investigations are not non-lawyers.
Okay.
Not at all times. Sometimes they are non-lawyers. And so when they are non-lawyers and they come to those conclusions, and you view it a legal eye, you may come to a different conclusion. That is why sometimes you bring a docket, a person is charged preliminarily with murder. And upon review and critical analysis of all the facts before us, we come to a conclusion that it's manslaughter and not murder. You know, so sometimes it varies, and sometimes we affirm whatever charges they have actually proffered against the particular person or group of persons. But as I indicated, sometimes when we review the documents, we realize that there are a lot of loopholes. So when you go to court, you'll be thrown out. You are going to lose. So what do? You recommend further investigations into those gray areas to get further information, so that when you now go to court, you are solid and you are grounded enough to secure a conviction at least. But if you pick such dockets and under the guise of satisfying public anger, you rush to court, you get yourself humiliated. And then they start scoring us. This person 1, Attorney General 0. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid a situation where people begin to give us this group 3, Attorney General 0, this group 4. We are not going to allow such things to happen. And that is why we are doing due diligence. And I indicated to you that we are not engaging in persecution. Randy, at the end of the day, what are we looking for? It's not justice. We are not crying for the blood of innocent citizens. I don't think that's what we are asking for. We are asking for those who have committed crimes against the state to be punished in accordance with law. And that determination can be made in compliance with Article 296, as I indicated, the discretionary power that has been vested in the Attorney General to engage in prosecutions by a review, a comprehensive review of dockets that have been presented, and we come to certain determination before we proceed to court. Otherwise, you push us, we go to court, we get humiliated, and you call us incompetent. And we are not going to allow that. We are not going to allow a situation where anybody will use any negative word to describe the Attorney General's department. We're going to do due diligence, and at the appropriate time, other cases will go to court, just as we are in court with 3 major cases. I am sure that when we begin to go with other cases as well, all those who are indicating and agitating that we're not doing anything will eat back their own words. But, Randy, we will go to court only when we are ready and we are certain that we are going to court with charges that are sustainable and maintainable in court. Not just frivolous charges to go and satisfy public anger and get yourself humiliated before a judge. So we're going to do due diligence, and as indicated, we shall proceed to court with other cases. We are already in court with cases, and that's why whenever they speak, I want them to add that we are already doing prosecutions.
You wear the hat of a politician as well. I mean, you're speaking now in your capacity as a technical person, a deputy attorney general, a lawyer.
Yes.
So you're speaking the law.
Yes.
Now, I want you to put on your hat of a politician and try and marry the two. That here are people in your government or supporters who say that, hey, in the previous government, we made so many allegations against personalities, against entities, and we screamed corruption, we said many things. I mean, John Mama has hotels in Dubai, he has oil vessels, Lodina Mahama has done this person has done that, they've done this, they are corrupt, they are thieves, they've done this, people own filling stations, people do all these things. We said all those things, and it fed into the psyche of the Ghanaian, who believe that, look, these people are so corrupt, they must go. Now we've come to power. When we weren't in power, our excuse was that we didn't have the capacity or the authority to investigate, find out things, have access to information, and prosecute. Now, we made all those allegations. Now we have the power, we have the authority, we have the capacity. People are not seeing us confirming the things that we said. It paints us as people who are dishonest and who perhaps told tales and lies just to win political power. It could hurt us. So, Attorney General and your team, do something to substantiate the allegations that we made whilst we were in opposition. Otherwise, it could have a boomerang effect on us.
You see, Randy, but I indicated at the beginning that some of these issues came up when we won elections, others before we won elections. And there were allegations of wrongdoing at places like Kokobod, at places like SNIT, before we came to power. And some of these things fed into the campaign. Are we not in court with those cases?
You are.
You see, it doesn't mean that every allegation that is made must end up in court. That's not the meaning.
Okay.
You see, for example, we are trying to implement the reverse evidence system in the Special Prosecutors Act.
What's that?
The reverse evidence system is, we are an adversarial state where the state will go and actually put forth the case.
If you say I am a thief, you must prove I will
prove that you are a thief.
In the reverse, if you say I'm a thief, I should prove I'm not a thief.
In the civil law states, that's what they do.
Yeah.
But we don't practice that. But in most countries that are very serious in fighting corruption now, including us, we are beginning to have that. Where, for example, that maybe a public official owns 10 filling stations and all have been acquired only after he came into office. The question will be fundamentally, how did you come by that? You have to explain it away. If you took loans to do those things, you prove it. Otherwise, if you are unable to explain it away, it will be assumed that you acquired those properties by dint of corrupt practices and all that. So we can begin to, implement those issues. But as I indicated, I know that there are several dockets before IOCO. And I equally know that there are several dockets before the CID. But as I indicated, some of them, when they come before us and we review them, we realize there are a lot of loopholes in them. As I speak, as you indicated, I may be wearing two caps now. One, the political cap, and the other one as a technocrat. And in marrying the two, what I can say is that whatever is prosecutable will be done before 2020. And whatever is not prosecutable will not be taken to court. They've indicated an example like double salary and other things. I'm not going to discuss the merits of it. I will not dare do that because we are going to review the dockets. But if you make an allegation of double salary, we're going to establish some, you know that there are two principal things in criminal jurisprudence. The mind, the mindset, the intent is very important, and then the act itself. So it is possible that I do a thing, but I did not have the intent to do it. So there will be no crime. Okay, it's like, for example, a nurse. He comes to your place and he gives you money, and you take it. Our law says that both the giver and the taker have committed an offense. But at the time he was giving you, did he have in his mind an intent to commit an offense? No. The answer is no. Yeah. So there's no crime there committed by him. In like manner, this issue of double salary, we as an Attorney General's Department, we have to look at the documents, and we are reviewing them. The documents before us, the statements given by the various persons who have been put before us, and then possibly pay slips, because of course, Randy, if you have two pay slips, and each of them indicates salary, you should know what that means. If you claim that you don't know, you ought to know. So basically you have to look at all these things and come to certain conclusions. Or is somebody making a legitimate claim at a particular point in time? So to speak, that, oh, I received this, but I expected it anyway. All those things will have to be factored in. Then when you go to court, you now prove that, look, you knew that you were being paid double salary, and you took it gleefully, and so you committed an offense. So you will have the intent proved, and again, you will have the act itself. So you have the commission of an offense. All those things
in this case, will you also be looking at those who pay the monies?
Of course.
Okay.
You know, it only will have to go into, that is if, when the offense was committed and then investigations began, you paid the money, you can still be punished. But we will now be looking at the gravity of whatever punishment that will be given, because under that circumstance, it doesn't extricate you of the offense. Because the one who will be extricated or taken out of the offense will be a person who, at the time it happened, reversed the payment. So you go to your account, you see double salary, and then you make a report, and then they ask you to pay back one, and you do. You commit no offense. But if happily you pick it knowing very well that you are paid double, then intent is there. And when there's intent and the commission of an offense, then of course you can be prosecuted. So it is one example, and there are others. I don't want to mention cases as I indicated to you, because that's not good enough. But I know of a number of cases that will go to court. I will not be able to tell you today or tomorrow, but there are a number of cases that will definitely go to court. But what I would like to caution is that as a country, we are building our systems, okay? We are trying to solidify our rule of law and to progress as a nation. Whatever we do must be in line with the spirit and letter of the Constitution. You can get the Attorney General and her 2 deputies out and go and bring different people in there. If they come and documents before them do not prove or point to a certain direction, I don't think they will go to court. Just because they want to satisfy them.
Or they can rush to court and be humiliated.
That's one of the options available. I don't think any lawyer worth his salt would like to rush to court and get himself humiliated. So what I would like to...
Because even with you guys taking care before you go to court, sometimes, let me admit, I was in the courtroom, but sometimes I read some of the cross-examination and I feel bad for you guys. That, what happened, you know?
No, of course. Of course, you see, there's what you know and what I know.
Yeah.
So I put forth what I know, and then you bring, and that is why at the end the judge will evaluate the evidence and find out whether there's a proof beyond reasonable doubt. If there's no proof beyond reasonable doubt, the person gets acquittal. But you see, in all these things, in the end, when we are in the courtroom, and these things are raised, it is us who are supposed to answer and who are supposed to bear the brunt of disgrace if we are unable to answer.
Yes.
And not those who are agitating.
Yes.
At that particular point, our integrity is at stake. So if we get humiliated in court, and sometimes the judge will ask you certain questions that will humiliate you, at that stage, those agitating will not be there to answer for us. So I want to plead with them that it is true, we campaigned on the backdrop of corruption and corrupt practices and allegations and etc. A lot is being done, and as I indicated, I was watching a very short video yesterday of His Excellency former President John Dramani Mahama, in which he stated that 2.5 years was so short a time to be able to accomplish his vision as president. I watched a video like that yesterday. He said that in the past. And we are 20 months in office. An MPP was not voted into power to be in office for 20 months, but 4 years. If at the end of the 4 years we are not able to deliver on our mandate as an Attorney General's department, of course.
22 now.
Oh, it's not 22.
It's 22 now.
Oh, we're not very well. Very well. It's not 22. We are 21 and some
21 and a half.
So what I am stating quite clearly and without equivocation is that all those agitations will have patience.
Okay.
His Excellency the President knows why he put the 3 of us there, my boss and the 2 of us as her deputies. And it was not a mistake he made. We will act to vindicate his position. I recall that His Excellency the President stated that, look, don't do media trial. He told us that. Don't do media trial of persons. Do it in the courtroom. And at the end of the day, Ghanaians will applaud you. But if what they want us to do is every day as we come to Metro TV and then tell Ghanaians how many people we have lined up to be prosecuted tomorrow and the day after, that's media trial. And I don't think that will take us anywhere. In any case, the people who are being tried have the right to self-defense. And they will always mount it anyway. But at the end, it is the judge who will make definite pronouncements as to the guilt or otherwise of persons. So I would like to give a final assurance that we are doing our very best. And any Ghanaian, not necessarily NDC alone. Any Ghanaian who we suspect to have committed an offense and investigations are conducted and a case is built against the person will definitely be made to face
I'll take Abdul Aziz's views and I'll come and ask your view on something else, but it's related to justice and the law in your work and all that. Yes, Abdul Aziz.
Randy, you couldn't have gotten a more...
Are you a member of the MPP?
No, I'm not. I'm not. This is...
What are you doing with your manifesto?
But Randy, you know, as we speak now, we are, as a country, the document that we all subscribed to was the MPP manifesto. And so I
are wearing their hat?
No. I don't have red in my hat. And they don't have black in their colors too. Just blue. Right. But Randy, you see, you couldn't have gotten a more authoritative person to speak to this issue than the Deputy Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Clearly, the struggle is that they made a lot of campaign against President Mohammed and the NDC. They made all manner of allegations against us. The Ghanaian public bought into it. They made the Ghanaian public to believe that President Mohammed and the NDC was corrupt. They made specific allegations. And that is where the worry comes. This is your party manifesto, Deputy Minister, signed by the then flag bearer of your party, now President Akufo-Addo, and also your acting national chairman at that time. In fact, you just didn't make those allegations on political platforms. You captured it in your party manifesto, and the then flag bearer signed onto it. And Randy, with your permission, let me just read just some few lines from page 134 of your manifesto. The manifesto that brought you into power, made President Akufo-Addo the president, and made you the deputy minister. The corruption under John Mahama NDC government is exemplified by a rampant contract price inflation, abuse of procurement processes, with sole sourcing the most abused process, flagrant nepotism and cronyism, payment of dubious judgment debts and questionable settlements. I mean, you made a lot of allegations against the NDC. And you said the Attorney General's office either refuses to prosecute or where there have been prosecutions, they do so shoddily. These were the words of President Akufo-Addo and Freddie Blay, now your party chairman. I remember exactly that somewhere in August last year, Deputy Minister, you were on CTFM and you had indicated that you were going to start prosecutions in October 2017. I mean, it is a year down the lane. I mean, you have not done any serious prosecution.
Really?
Yes. I mean,
that's not true.
Oh,
that's not.
Is it not? Is it not true?
No, but Abdul Aziz, hold on.
Is it not true?
Just hold on, gentlemen. Abdul Aziz,
Randy,
the facts are that
yes,
since he spoke
yes
about that issue, the deadline,
yes,
they've gone to court on the NCA. They've gone to court on Cocoa Board. They've gone to court on SNIT OBS. You raised issues of sole sourcing and procurement breaches.
Yes.
In the case that they make in court, they're referring to some of these things.
Sole sourcing.
As to whether they will be able to sustain the allegations or not is another matter. Yes. But the point is that since he made the statement that you're talking about, they've gone to court. They are dealing with some of those allegations that they made. Whether they'll be successful or not, that one,
Randy,
I don't even...
the court will decide. Randy, just last week, a group that calls itself Coalition of MPP Food Soldiers Against Corruption issued an open letter to the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Right. And they recounted all the allegations that they made against the NDC and President Mahama. Okay. They talked about the judgment debts, Waterville, Isophoton, Soba, the bus branding saga, the mask lock, XTS, the inflation of the cost of the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, the Kaswa interchange that was...
But those issues were dead on arrival.
But you see, they need to admit that.
Who needs to?
The MPP needs to admit.
Is there a docket in the Attorney General Department?
No. It's not about docket. It's about a political party making allegations that were baseless just because they wanted to win power. You have won power, and today you don't have the courage to tell the Ghanaian public that all the allegations that you made against President Mahama were baseless and that it was only meant to win political power. That's why you are now in that difficulty. Today, it is your own party food soldiers We are questioning you on some of those allegations and not the NDC. All that you need to do is to tell the Ghanaian public that just like you made pledges of what you are going to be able to deliver, tell them that all the allegations that you made against President Mahama, the former First Lady, the ministers of President Mahama, and all his appointees, you should be bold enough to tell the Ghanaian public that you virtually lied your way into power and that all the allegations were baseless. Well, on the issue of Cocoa Board, the NCA matter, and then the software at Senate, let's see how it will go. Like you indicated, they equally have representation in court. Let us see what the ruling will be. Today, you don't want to do those prosecutions because you'll be humiliated in court.
Abdul Aziz, are you not having what Kweku Baku want to refer to as, what's the time, are the kids in school? Okay. What Kweku Baku want to refer to as premature ejaculation? Because he's indicated
yes,
that, look, there are several dockets that they are working on. There are some that have come. They have recommended some further work. They will be going to court on many other things. They are halfway through their mandate. Even on the last day of their mandate, they can go to court and prosecute. So why would you, in the middle of their term, speak as if the term has ended and they've not been able to do the things they said they would do?
Randy, you see, as a country, we all have resolved to fight corruption, and we will support this government at all times to fight corruption. We are ever willing to cooperate with the state institutions. What is worrying is that almost 2 years into your 4-year term, you have not demonstrated any serious fight against corruption. You are not just unable to prosecute all former appointees, but even under your own watch, the kind of allegations that are actually coming out are just too much for us to bear. What I'm saying is that, Deputy Minister, what you need to do is to tell the Ghanaian public that all the allegations that you made against President Mahama and the NDC were baseless. Today, your own party people... Oh, yes.
Hey,
oh, yes.
They were in court.
Ah, why? you made more than 1,001 allegations of corruption against the former appointees. Today, you are clothed with all the authority. You have all the security institutions. You are there with your colleague, a deputy minister, and a substantive minister. Go ahead and prosecute former appointees if you think that we were corrupt. All that I'm saying is that you don't make allegations to win power, and when you assume power, you are unable to act. And when your own party foot soldiers come after you, you want to tell them that you are just halfway your term. So, for instance, if we were driving towards a Tamale and you were the driver, and everybody in the bus can tell that the manner in which we are driving, you are going to put us into a ditch. We shouldn't complain because we haven't arrived in Tamale yet. I mean, it is almost half term your full term, and you must show some seriousness about what. Look, the Kaswa interchange, you are alleged that the price was inflated by some $40 million or so. What is preventing you from prosecuting those who were in charge of the award of the contract? Same allegations you made about the circle interchange. And interestingly, some of these allegations were championed by the then. But
I am aware that they've conducted investigations. I am aware.
And what is
that? Since they assumed office, they conducted investigations.
Randy, see, they have conducted those investigations. They can't find any grounds to prosecute, and so they are unable to go to court on those matters. That's why I'm saying that. Tell the Ghanaian public, look, we have done ABC investigations. The evidence that we have cannot support any prosecution, and that if we go to court...
Who announces that? Who does that kind of announcement? In this Fourth Republic...
He's not just the deputy minister.
I'm saying that in this Fourth Republic, yes, I've never heard any government come and announce that we didn't find anything, so we will not prosecute. I've not heard that.
Oh, so Randy, simply because no government has announced that, even though we made allegations, we are unable to prosecute because we don't have evidence.
Yes.
Do you think the MPP should not have the courage to do so?
Let's listen to this from Abdul Malik Kwekubaku before you come in. He says, same subculture of allegations were made by the NDC in opposition prior to the assumption of power in 2009. How many of Kufuor's appointees were successfully prosecuted between 2009 and 2016? Both sides across the political divide are liable. Remember, the pressure mounted on Betty Mode by Justice Pega and others, NDC Manifesto for Election 2008 contains similar commitments as expressed in the NPP Manifesto for Election 2016. He's asking whether
Randy,
there's selective amnesia on your part.
No, Randy. How can we use the supposed wrongs of 2009 to justify wrongs in 2016? I mean, this practice of using past events to justify present wrongs is not good for us as a country.
Right.
I have just
You
referred
are coming
you.
to equity.
No.
It's
It's not about equity. It's about good governance. It's about improving the governance structures in this country. I have just referred you to statements that you made in your manifesto. I have referred you to your own statement somewhere last year in August, and I'm telling you that you are not walking the talk. That's what I'm saying. And so you don't use events of 2009 to justify events in 2018, almost 10 years after that. You don't do that.
You must raise the bar.
You must raise the bar. You must improve on the governance structures in this country. We are willing to cooperate with you to fight corruption. We would subject ourselves to all legal state institutions that are mandated to fight corruption. But you don't destroy people's reputation, make baseless allegations, and when you are given power, almost 2 years into office, you are unable to do most of the things that you alleged was wrong and that you're going to prosecute. Today, your own party people are coming after you because they say that if you are unable to prosecute us, you cannot continuously use the tag of corruption on us, and that would impair your future campaigns. And today you are telling us that when you prosecute, you will be humiliated in court because the evidence do not support prosecutions.
You don't even maybe you didn't listen to
I did. It was a very nice way of saying that the evidence that you have would only humiliate you in court. I mean, it was a very nice way of.
You didn't listen to
I did, Honorable. And so the most important thing is that.
Create your own voice.
I'm not creating my own voice. Didn't you talk about going to court? If you go to court without good evidences, you'll be humiliated in court.
Randy,
didn't you say so?
Randy.
And what is preventing you from going to court?
Let him finish.
What is preventing you from going to court on almost all these issues that I have talked about? The Castle interchange, circle interchange, isophotone. Go to court if you think you have prosecutable evidence against us, and we will subject ourselves to those institutions. Like I indicated earlier, you only made those allegations just to find your way into power. And today you are there. Your own people are coming after you.
No, Randy, I am very excited about something. You know, when I started my very first submission, you referred to it as a technical submission, and that if I wear a political cap, what happens? He decided to run amok, but I was just keeping quiet and watching. And very soon, if cases are going to court, I hope you will not organize people to say it's witch hunt. The same people. You see, we are building a nation, and we ought to be cautious. That's why when I approached the issue from my brother's question, I took it from the perspective that we should do it to satisfy the state, not individuals. As I indicated, I mean, your point about me saying something last year dies on arrival. I said that we're going to start prosecuting after a certain date. After that date, 3 major cases have gone to court. So I don't know what you're talking about when I said so last year. That's one. Number two, I told you that there are other cases. But I don't like a situation where you sit here and throw out the number of cases you are taking to court. And the next moment is everywhere that tomorrow morning you are sending case. When we are ready, we'll go to court.
When will you be ready?
You see, and I will not tell you that. When we are ready, we will go.
When will you be ready?
But let me make this very clear. The things you are talking about and all that, all the list you are mentioning and etc. At the time, we're in opposition. As we've come into government, investigations ought to be conducted into it. I know, and Randy, you know that quite a number of road constructions across the country where the contractors were asked to stop for audit to be conducted. These are all facts. You know it. And when, the audit is conducted, forensic audit, of course, and it is established that there was wrongdoing, they will answer. If there's no wrongdoing,
so on what basis were you making all the allegations in opposition?
But Joe,
on what basis?
Joe, there are people who also say that this issue of especially the roads and this issue of the audit and all that you conducted, 12 months to 15 months is too long a time. You know, it's too long a time for you to still go on the rhetoric of audit, audit, audit. By now, we ought to have known the status of this audit. You said that, look, we have come in new. We want to find out if everything is okay. So let's suspend everything. And here I'm even looking at the implication of suspending the works on both the nation and the contractors themselves because of commitments they've made financially and all that. And also because we know that any time these works stop and we have to resume them later, it comes at a greater cost to the state. And that's why we always look for an expedited process. So yes, I mean, it makes sense to want to audit. But for how long will the audit take? So when you have a pronouncement of guilt or an allegation of guilt hanging on the heads of some people, you have an issue of cost to the state in terms of stalled works. You also have an issue of financial stress in case of the companies or individuals who were executing these jobs. For how long will this continue?
Randy, there's a cost to everything you do.
Yeah.
And due diligence, there's a cost to it.
Yes.
For example, if somebody says that he has awarded a road contract at a village, linking two villages, and it is about 20 kilometers, and you go and do audit and realize that the road linking the two villages is 10 kilometers, what happens? You are going to save half of the money.
Yes.
That's a review.
Yes.
So the audit is absolutely necessary
I agree,
to establish the
101%.
authenticity or otherwise or whatever contract has been entered into. And that is the cost of the democracy we are practicing.
Yes.
You don't have to hasten, and cover up a lot of things in order for you to be able to complete a project. You have to do due diligence, and that is very important in any dispensation that we engage ourselves in.
Yes.
Whatever government is in power,
Yes.
be it MPP, NDC, or PNC, or CPP, or whichever party is in power. And it is important to note that if you are going to talk about timelines and etc., then the investigation ought to be completed. Then you come out with your findings and take a decision, then you move on.
Yes.
And I believe that those roads will definitely commence. But that will be after the road ministry has satisfied itself that, look, we've done all the audit, we've realized that these ones are right, these ones are wrong. Let's proceed. At that stage, you will do an evaluation and find out whether savings that will be made as a result of the audit are less than to have allowed the contractors to go ahead and complete it. In any case, when a crime is committed, or is about to be committed, or has been committed, it's for you to look at whether or not justice will be served the state, however small it is, if the contract is suspended. You know, you may be looking at the general principle of the greater good for the greater number of people and all that. Yes, that's what one philosopher said. If an action will bring benefit to the greater number of people, then it's good. Go ahead. So if a minority will suffer as a result of that action, it doesn't matter. That's not it in this case. In this case, what we are advocating is that we do absolute due diligence on conduct of past officials. And if we come to the conclusion that what they did was right by virtue of what is before us, we allow it to go. I think that's what is going on. You may be talking about the time, and you may be right to some extent, but the most important thing at the end is the nation should be protected. But finally, on what my brother said, he's reading from the MPP manifesto, allegations that were made, and etc. I have told you a number of times, and Randy, you know my style, the issue of making unnecessary comparisons where they are not necessary. You know, if you open your own manifesto in the past, and etc., and you read some of these things for yourself, I don't think you even comment on what is happening. Because some of the things you've read about, Randy rightly pointed it out, that look, we haven't proved anything, but we are in court. And some of the things are about procurement breaches. OBS, you know, some of them are about procurement breaches and etc. OBS is one, ACA is another. And these are matters in court. So those allegations were made, and they are in the manifesto. And these matters in court are in line with those allegations that were made. So what is your beef again? Even if it is one, it is in line with that allegation. But there are three major cases in line with the allegations that were made that you read. So what is the problem? And many others will come up, definitely. But as I indicated, I think that as a nation, when we begin to move with other cases to court, people shouldn't mass up in court in support of other persons or stating that, look, it's witch hunting and etc. Because I have stated that, well, witches are not good. And if there are witches, they must be hunted anyway.
Okay, all right.
Randy, to the extent that the deputy minister has admitted that they are taking too much time to do the investigations.
Has he?
Have I done that?
You just said that you agree with Randy when he says that it's taking you too much time to finish with your... No, come on. You just said it right now. You admitted that Randy's assertion that it was taking you too much time to conduct investigations.
Exactly.
And so to the extent that you've done that admission, we can pardon you for that. And you're talking about manifesto, just like Kweku Baku said, you are making comparisons of the manifesto of the NDC prior to the 2000 elections to what is going on today.
2008 elections.
2008 elections to what's happening today. Almost 10 years. And like I indicated, let us improve on our governance structures and stuff.
Baku says, on what you just said.
Yes.
Says, I should ask you whether by what you're saying,
yes,
you are admitting guilt.
Well, if I would admit guilt to improve the structures, why not? Why?
Because it says raising the bar requires admission of one's past errors and not an indulgence in selective amnesia.
When people are not interested...
It says have the courage to admit you are wrong.
When people are not interested in admitting what is wrong today, you say what beef? I don't have any beef, right? Because we have not written to the Attorney General. Those who have written to the Attorney General about prosecutions are your own party members. We are just looking at you. We will make ourselves available to any state institution mandated to fight corruption. We would abide by all the rules and laws of this country in respect of fighting corruption, but respond to the call of your own party foot soldiers to go to court and prosecute all the allegations that you made. We are of the candid view that you are unable to do most of them because the evidence does not support any prosecution, and that if you are to go to court, like in your own words, you'll be humiliated.
Now, Joe, I said I was going to ask you something. Yeah. Okay, and it's related. I have realized, and it will be a practice that can be traced even before the Fourth Republic. But if I were to restrict myself to the Fourth Republic, I've seen that anytime there is this kind of agitation, there are things that most governments do when they decide to now wear their political lenses. And they sometimes even do it proud, especially when they take over, to buy time. And it's about putting out, I mean, I will be the last to condemn it because we are beneficiaries of it, and our trade actually thrives on it. You know, to leak what they call audit reports and investigative reports and forensic reports, and most of the time these reports have not even come to the corridors of
Parliament,
the Attorney General's department, that you've not even seen a copy, but they are leaked. And those findings that are made by these investigative bodies are then used for a certain purpose. Invariably, that comes to put a lot more pressure on the Aegis department.
That's true.
Because for the person out there, the impression they get is that the state has incontrovertible evidence against these persons. And these are the amounts of monies involved. How come they are working free?
Randy, if there's a publication that there's an audit report indicting state officials of the past or present, it is not the Attorney General's department that straight away starts prosecuting. That piece of document has to be presented to the investigative bodies. You see, unlike the special prosecutor, the Attorney General does not investigate cases. That's one thing we have to know. If you read Article 88, it says that we are supposed to prosecute. Okay, so the investigations are conducted by the agencies responsible. So you have SRAJ, you have IOCO, you have the CID, and then other agencies. When they conduct the investigations, they build the dockets, they forward them to us. We review, advise, and go to court. So we don't go to court with media reports that it has been reported that audit has actually indicted A or B or C. Then the following morning, AG is in court with that person. No, that's not what happens. An investigation would then have to be conducted by an agency and a docket built and forwarded to us. Then we would then advise upon review, as I indicated earlier. But as you said, those ones have been prevalent in the past and they are prevalent now and will be prevalent later. That these things come up and then it then triggers investigations. And then you look into the matter, and if there's merit, why not You put it up there, and then you look at the merits of it, and then you can go to court or not go based on whatever facts that you come across. You have said it rightly. It happens all the time. And indeed, some of these matters provoke immediately investigations to ascertain the veracity or otherwise of those allegations.
Sometimes there are reports from the investigative agencies, either Police CID or IOCO, you know, and so they come up and it looks like, oh, the people have done their work. They've concluded that X amount of money has been stolen. These are the people involved, you know. And so if people do not hear of prosecutions in the next few days or weeks, then they think that the Attorney General is not doing his or her work.
Randy, I don't know. At the beginning I indicated, and I have decided that I will not mention any name or names, but at the beginning I indicated that there's a matter, very serious matter, involving millions of Ghana cedis, of course, which came up to us. A very good case to go to court with. But when the docket was brought upon review, it was realized that there were several loopholes that you go to court, you will lose, not because it's a bad case, but because those areas had not been investigated. Because remember, when you put a witness in the box and you have cross-examination by a lawyer from the other side, he starts asking questions. He's going to look for the loopholes. He will ask you, you are alleging that this person he stole 1 billion, and then he stole it from 20 assemblies. But your evidence before the court shows that you have facts from 8 assemblies. Where are your facts from the 12 others? So I'm putting it to you that there is nothing from those 12 others against the accused person. You understand what I'm talking about? At that stage, you look stupid in court. So what you do then is that if the thing involves 20 assemblies, you have to investigate and come up with documents from all 20 assemblies. And
otherwise,
it takes time.
you amend your charge.
Otherwise, you have to amend it to include only those other areas. You know. So sometimes, I mean, even technically, you can go and get knocked out. Not on the basis of merit, but on the basis of technicality. You know, you go and then sometimes you go and proffer charges that are bad for duplicity. For example, the person committed 7 offenses and you box them as 1. You know, that's bad for duplicity. So when you get to court, the other lawyer will raise it and immediately the case is struck out. Then you take your files and get back to the office and nurse your wounds and come back again. But you have to be careful and cautious and build your facts well. I can assure you, Randy, from where I sit, that cases will come up to court and will come up soon. But all I would like to urge people is that we should do it because there are credible allegations that people need to answer, and not because we want to persecute people, because we will never, ever persecute anybody. But I can assure those who are agitating, including other well-meaning persons who are not agitating, that cases that are prosecutable will be sent to court. And indeed, justice will serve the nation.
Randy, just 1 minute on the same issue of allegations and whether they are going to prosecute or not. Again to your manifesto. Again to your manifesto.
Abdul Aziz.
Randy.
Yes.
You make a very categorical statement. And like I said, this manifesto was signed by the then flag bearer, not your party full soldier. Page 39, second paragraph. Randy, with your indulgence, just I would want to read some few lines.
Please go ahead.
The hard, cold truth is that despite the recent election inspired artificial semblance of stability in the power supply situation, the fundamental challenges leading to doomsday remain, and the quick fixes have instead resulted in the imposition of high-cost emergency plans on Ghanaians, corruptly procured from Ameri and Kapawa. Specific allegation of corruption on the issue of Ameri and Kapawa. You are aware that your minister has vindicated President Mahama and the NDC on Ameri. You are aware?
Did you read that report well?
I did. I have the report here, and you have put on some side.
Did you read it well?
Oh, I did.
You know,
I did.
Randy, let me draw my brother's attention to something.
I'm sure if you want to come back, you will come.
Let him finish.
I want to draw his attention to
very well. Joe, just
very well. Very well.
I have just referred you to your own manifesto, where you made specific allegation of corruption against President Mahama and his ministers on the issue of Ameri. The former minister...
American Power.
The former minister for energy, Honorable Boachi Ejaku, solicited your advice on Ameri, and you issued a letter. You have put down the letter on some sites dated 4th July 2017, and you said that the process that was taken to procure Ameri was fair, transparent, and that there was nothing wrong.
Randy,
oh,
let him read it.
Oh.
Please.
Is it
please.
true? Is it true?
For the
Is it
sake
true?
of the listening public, you claim you have it. Read it.
If I mean to read the whole letter here, I'm sure it will take us
Please don't mislead the public.
But is it true?
No, is it true? Of you say that.
No, is it true?
AG came out and said that there was nothing wrong.
Okay.
I'll let you explain.
Okay. If you did not vindicate us on that matter, you are a deputy minister at that ministry. What was your advice to the Ministry of Energy? I have your letter here. You have put down that letter that you wrote to the Ministry of Energy on some sites, but I've still gotten it here. And so when I say that you made baseless allegations, and this is a very clear example, what even happened to Ameri when Boache Jaku came to Parliament with his Ameri Innovation and Amendment Bill? A project that was costing Ghanaians about $510 million US. You were moving it to somewhere $1.2 billion US. That is the reason why today Boache Jaku is not the minister. And for how long? It's a very important matter. Very important matter.
Is saying that
yes,
the 1.3 billion had an extended.
That's the point. That even made it worse. That we're going to make that payment within 5 years and own the project for the rest of 20 years, because the project has a 25 years lifespan. We're going to pay within 5 years, and then for the rest of the 20 years of the plant, it would have been the bona fide property of Ghana. Under your own arrangement, we're going to pay for 20 years and own the project just for 5 years. So that even makes it worse. Don't even bring that angle at all. Well, but I'm just telling you, back to the issue of corruption and you being unable to prosecute. I've just given a very good example of you making a specific allegation of Ameri and Car Power, signed by your then flag bearer, now President Akufo-Addo. Today, what was the advice of your ministry to the Minister of Energy on that same matter? You don't make baseless allegations, damage people's hard-won reputation just because you want to win a political power. And when you win power, you are not bold enough to say that some of the allegations that you made were baseless. Be bold enough. It improves our governance as
I'm sure you were bold enough to tell people that some allegations you made some time ago were
you
baseless.
may want to use events. You may want to use events of even pre-independence to justify your current wrongs. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
I like to say that in law,
yes,
you construe a write-up as a whole. Otherwise, if you begin to select sentences, phrases, and clauses from the lot in order to make your point, you run into several difficulties.
You read in part.
And he was in Parliament when we were looking at this agreement, Sino-Hydro.
Yes, Sino-Hydro.
You were in Parliament?
Yes, I was in Parliament.
Yes. I had to draw my former colleague in school, Hon Abdul Aziz, Honorable. I had to draw his attention to a constitutional proposition that day. I did. And it was because he read just a portion of a whole
I watched that debate.
article.
I watched it.
Yes, I drew his attention to it.
I watched it.
You watched it? I did. And I told him to construe it as a whole. And Mr. Speaker drew his attention to that. That, look, he has urged you to construe it as. And in the end, it was very clear from that provision that what he sought to portray the meaning to be was not the meaning at all. So what I'm seeking to say is that letter he's talking about on the issue of Ameri, I have heard people say Attorney General vindicated former President Mahama and etc. I want them to read that letter as a whole.
What did the Attorney
whether
General
or
say?
not it was not in there that there were a lot of infractions and etc. But actually abrogating it at that stage will cost the nation a lot. Whether it was not in there, it was in there in the advice.
It's not true.
The infractions were related to what?
You see, I mean, talking about the cost and then the circumstances of the matter and the manner in which the whole arrangement was made, there are a lot of questions. But if you see, and you know that in most of these agreements, you have the stability clauses. And if you go and you abrogate it, the consequences could be grave.
Tell us what your advice was.
Okay, for the nation. So what I want my brother to note is that there are quite a number of energy agreements that this government has actually terminated upon critical review to save the nation of a lot of things. You've spoken about the fact that
it was told us your advice.
Hold it. It was brought before the Attorney General, and that at the end we also had the issue of the Honorable Ejaku bringing some innovation agreement to Parliament and all that.
That was going to shortchange us.
Hold on. What was the outcome of that?
He was sacked.
What was the outcome?
He was sacked.
So what is the meaning?
That
we endorsed it?
Go home.
Was it endorsed?
You see,
so I don't know what point you were making.
Deputy Minister.
You see, if it
that had the approval of the president.
You see, but at the end, there was a statement from the presidency.
So I'm saying it had the approval of the president.
What
was forwarded to Parliament by the presidency.
Yes.
Yes, the president approved it.
But later on, a statement came from the presidency.
That what?
You are aware?
What was a statement?
Aren't you aware?
What was a statement?
Look, the presidency indicated that certain pieces of information were not made available to it, leading to that. And that was why the issue of being misled was used.
Deputy Minister,
if you are aware, I mean,
you are a lawyer on this panel.
Yes, of course.
In fact, when you mislead a public servant, the #1 public servant of this country, you are not just dismissed. You should have been prosecuting
my view on that matter.
If you're convinced that he misled the president.
Joe, my view on that matter, respectfully.
To mislead the president as a minister.
My view on that matter, which I stated publicly here, which I will not be shy to state again, was that, and I know you're referring to the absence of 2 documents. 1, the advice of the Attorney General, and then 2, was it a letter of consent or comfort? I don't know what the technical construction, but the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I said that I found it unacceptable. I'm trying to be very mild. That the president, being who he is, I mean, former Attorney General, lawyer,
former MP
of repute. I cannot even talk about his. I'm not in a position to lace his legal shoes, you know. And then his executive secretary, being a lawyer as that,
a good lawyer,
would give that kind of approval when they have not cited things that I would consider basic. That before you give a go-ahead for something like this, the advice of the Attorney General, that letter from the Ministry of Finance are supposed to be basic.
Very basic.
Basic ingredients.
Very basic.
So if you do not ask for that and you give the go-ahead, and when there is uproar, you turn around
say you are misled.
To then say that, oh, because of the absence of this and that. I mean, you obviously have engaged in a very shoddy work, and I'm saying that I'm trying to be very, very mild in my discussion.
You know, there's a principle of law that talks about presumption of regularity.
Yes.
That official documents before you are presumed to be regular until otherwise proven.
You must have a checklist, a basic checklist.
I mean, I want you to understand that this principle exists.
Due diligence.
You know, when we're talking about the prosecutions.
Yes.
When we're talking about prosecutions.
Yes.
Why does the Attorney General not rely on the presumption of regularity
and go to
when
court?
You receive these things from the investigative agencies?
Because they are not done with legal eyes.
And because
they are not done with legal
because
eyes.
Your integrity and reputation is also at stake.
Absolutely.
When you proceed to court. So I'm saying that anything that has the president's signature, it has the president's reputation and integrity at stake.
Oh, yes.
And so there are some basic.
Let me give you an example. And I'm answering directly that question. You see, if as a minister, I'm bringing a contractual relationship between the government of Ghana and another country before my president, the documents expected are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, put together as a bundle, brought to the presidency for assent. Right? What I'm saying is that you may have your problem with that. But when the document arrives at the presidency, the presumption is that the ingredients necessary for that contract have been met. Because remember, the ministry too has legal advisors.
You can't make that assumption.
Hold on. It's a presumption in law.
I agree with you.
You can't. That official documents are regular until proven otherwise.
Joe, I agree with you, but up to a point. I do not expect His Excellency the President to himself take the paper.
And be reviewing.
Yes. But you see, that is the reason why we allow the president to hire all those people with those fantastic titles in his office. That's the only reason. To ensure that whatever has been brought for his signature approval has met a certain criteria. Otherwise, the president will be just there alone with somebody at the front office. But you have all that team.
Over 1,000.
And all those people around the president just to ensure that all these things are done.
Is it, Randy?
True or
Immediately after this came to his attention, what did he do? He took steps to let Ghanaians know that he was not ready to compromise with any side.
If
thing.
people had not raised
He
the
took
issue,
immediate
For the vigilance of the minority caucus,
He took
this
immediate
thing would have
steps
passed.
to actually. I mean,
No,
but you see, Randy,
Minister, you can't defend this
Randy,
matter.
let me put
Walk
this
out of
across.
it.
Joe, you know my
Let me put this
Joe,
across.
you know my fault. You know my
in Parliament,
issue. Joe,
in
you know my
Parliament,
issue with this.
In Parliament,
Joe, you
if
know my
we
issue
wanted
with
to
this.
go
Walk
partisan,
out
we would
of
have still
this
passed
matter.
it.
No, Joe, you know
Walk
my
out of
issue with
this
this.
matter.
If we wanted to go partisan,
It
we
was
would
too
have passed it.
embarrassing.
I get it. Joe,
It was too
you know,
embarrassing.
you know
passed it
Joe,
anyway.
you know my issue with this.
No.
That when it comes to some of these issues, we ought to be, choose your words carefully, we ought to be candid enough to say that, look, you are paid to ensure ABCD is done. To the extent that it wasn't done, you have embarrassed government, you've done this, you've done that, you've done this. But when we decide to, it looks like, oh, the fault is all that of the ministry. I'm not saying that the ministry did no wrong. That's not the point. I'm not saying that I'll not hold the ministry responsible. In any case, the minister has paid the ultimate price for whatever might have occurred at the ministry. But I'm saying that nobody can convince me that the presidency, in the case of such agreements, is just a conveyor belt.
No, he's not.
Have we said so?
He's not.
We haven't said so. Nobody has actually
And
said
so
that.
when you talk
anyway.
about making an assumption that because documents that come to the presidency come with document A, B, C, D, the president just assumed that they were attached, and then he went ahead to give an executive.
But both of you know
that is wrong.
Both of you know
due diligence.
You know Abu Kudus.
Kudus.
Okay, yes, Kudus.
Yes, MP or
No.
Tamale.
Tamale.
Yes, Kudus in Tamale.
It's not in.
It's not in Accra.
He's in Accra.
Yeah, I think so.
You know
NCA
him.
I know
also.
him.
Okay. This is enjoying the program with two of his fine friends. Sadly, none of you attended the only secondary school in northern Ghana, Damasco.
Jesus Christ. Tell him that he should go through the records. In the last 12 years, the best school in the northern region is my school, Ghana Secondary.
Okay, Ghana School.
Yes,
You
Ghana
attended
School.
Ghana
You should just check the
Okay.
facts right.
Okay.
The best in the last 12
You
years.
attended the same school with the
If you
former
look at the
president Mahama.
SSC results and all that, Ghana School is always on top. So the Tamasco is touting. They belong to history.
I attended the same school. with
Yesterday
former
was his
President
wife's
Mahama.
birthday.
Okay.
Yes, Shamau.
Yeah.
She's with Vodafone in Tamale.
Yeah.
Yesterday was his birthday.
Well,
I
this is-
didn't know Abu
it's a
Kudus
very-
was this romantic.
It's a very good
You
friend.
know, this is a text he sent to the wife. I intercepted it.
Hey.
It says, for most of the people around the world, the word wife is just a combination and sequence of letters.
My goodness.
But for me, it is the cause of my fulfillment and happiness because of you, my lovely wife.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I'm sure he was one of the best literature students at Tabasco.
I can imagine that. I can imagine
We'll be
that.
back
I
shortly. Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show, I have Joe Kwemka and Abdul Aziz Mohammed. Page 3, Daily Graphic. Mixed reactions greet telcos tariff review. 5% adjustment takes effect on November 1. And Juliet Echan-Safo reports that the tariff increase of telecommunication service scheduled to come into effect on November 1, 2018 has attracted mixed reactions from mobile phone subscribers. While some subscribers have reacted angrily to the proposed increase, saying it is unnecessary, others say they are not surprised in view of the fact that the economic situation is becoming difficult, with price of goods and services increasing by the day. Those who are not in favor of the planned increase say they are unhappy with the poor services being rendered by the telecommunication companies and also disturbed by the taxes imposed on consumers, describing them as unnecessary. In separate interviews to find out the views on the new tariff in Accra yesterday, the subscribers said they were being made to pay high taxes on mobile services at a time they were struggling to make a living in the present difficult times. After the presentation of the 2018 media review of the budget by government, Parliament amended the Act to give effect to the conversion of the National Health Insurance Levy, NHIL, and the Get Fund Levy into levies that are not subject to the input-output mechanism, and delinking them from value-added tax by removing the option of input tax deductibility. thereby giving both levies a unique and different legal entity and distinguished from VAT. A subscriber who gave his name only as Musa complained bitterly about the increase in fuel prices and wondered why the government did not simultaneously increase the salaries of workers. Another subscriber who gave his name as Bismarck Dako said he was not surprised that the increase in tariff had hit the telecommunications sector, saying just as you cannot buy an item which cost 10 cedis in the past years for the same price today, we don't have to be surprised when the tariffs are increased. A seamstress who gave her name only as if you expressed her anger at the poor service of her service provider, but added that although the directive could not be flouted, the move would do Ghanaians no good. Their services are not good. They must give us quality services while increasing the cost of calls. A student who declined to give his name also expressed his displeasure at the new tariff, saying the move would affect most students, as majority of them relied on the internet to conduct research and for educational purposes. The subscribers called on the telcos to rather focus on implementing strategies to improve their services, as most Ghanaians were already struggling to make a living. And yesterday we read the statement from the telcos saying that it was to give effect to the conversion of the NHIL and GET fund into levies that are not subject to the input-output mechanism and delinking them from VAT. It says our members who are responsible corporate entities will comply fully with Ghana's laws and ensure the distinction between VAT and the new levies emanating from the separate origins and basis in law. As intended, the incidence of the two new levies will thus be on consumers and will result in the increase of the cost of telecommunication services. Okay, so meanwhile, the network of communication reporters has said it is not surprised that the reasons adduced by the members of the telecoms for their intention to increase tariffs with effect from November 1. It says we are aware that the telcos already absorb various tax components on behalf of customers. Some of the taxes include the double barrel communication service tax and the mobile number portability cost. Additionally, telcos are also heavily inundated with various charges and fees by many bodies, including assemblies. The Dean of the NCR, Mr. Charles Benoniokain, reacting to the announcement, said, as journalists, we have reported on the many calls made by the players in the industry to streamline these levies and charges and taxes, by which are falling on deaf ears for many years. Again, the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy, which has outlived its purpose, is still hanging around the neck of telcos. It's part of several calls to end it. We're also aware that the government is implementing policies such as the Common Monitoring Platform to rake in more money from telcos. In spite of all this, telecom tariffs in Ghana remain one of the lowest on the continent, if not the world. Against that background, Mr. Okan said it was only a matter of course that any additional levies or taxes, which will be another burden on them, will be passed on to the consumers. At this time of our development, we should rather be strict on the telcos to ensure that they invest more to cover the entire nation with their services. Overburdening them will affect investment in the sector. Let us not forget that it is on record that every investment in telco infrastructure impacts positively on GDP, and therefore they should be given space to invest. So, Abdul Aziz, the effects of the re-engineering of the VAT is come. And when this thing happened, then there was an argument, oh, it's being increased. It's not being increased. We have not added it. It's still the same thing. I was asking, for how long can you live a lie? You have done a restructuring or re-engineering of the structure of the tax. And you know that by giving it separate identities, it will result in people paying more. In fact, that is the intent. Yeah. You know, so how long did you think you were going to survive this quoted thing? I mean, previously, the brewery started it by announcing those adjustments. And it's all as a result of now treating the GET fund levy and the NHI levy
as straight levies.
Yes, as straight levies.
Yeah. Randy, you see, it is all because, and again, for me, when I want to assess this government, I do so going by their own manifesto and not any other document. To have promised that they were going to move the economy from taxation to production, and that depending on taxation for government revenue was a lazy way of governing, and that the government of President Mahama was incompetent because it only resorted to taxation to raise revenue, and made a pledge of moving our economy from taxation to production. And the Ghanaian public again was made to believe that they were suffering because President Mahama and the NDC had imposed a lot of taxes on them. And so if you remember when Minister Ken Ofori-Atta came to Parliament in 2017 March to present the maiden budget of this government. He had indicated that government had done away with some taxes, and we warned them that they were going to lose as much as 1 billion Ghana cedis, and that those reliefs were not going to impact meaningfully on the lives of people. But they wouldn't listen. For instance, when you do away with the 17.5% VAT on the air tickets in the aviation industry, when you do away with the 5% tax on real estate, these are services and goods that are enjoyed by the haves in this country. And so we advise them to do away with that populist posture. But they wouldn't listen. And so they lost as much as 1 billion Ghana cedis from those tax reliefs. Beyond that, ESLA, the stabilization fund, a lot of taxes have been increased on the quiet. Some of them had sunset clauses when they were passed in 2015, like the ESLA. They have extended the duration of ESLA. When the minister came to do the media review, we had preempted that they were going to increase VAT from 17.5 to a minimum of 20%. And they denied that. And so what the minister did was to now restructure the entire VAT system, bringing it back to its original position of 12.5%, and now making health insurance levy and get fund levy as straight levies. What that means is that instead of calculating 2.5 on the value addition, you are now going to do 2.5 on the entire cost. So for instance, if you were a trader and you go to buy an item at the cost of, say, 10 cedis, and you are going to sell the item at 15 cedis, the value addition is the 5 cedis. So your 2.5% of health insurance levy and get fund levy was going to be calculated on the 5 cedis. Now making them a straight levy means that you'll be paying 2.5 for health insurance and 2.5 on get fund levy on the entire 15 Ghana cedis. And that would lead to more hardships to the Ghanaian public. They denied it right after the minister presented the media budget. Government spokespersons, party communicators went all over to deny that there was no increase of any sort in taxation. Today, we all can see that there has been an increase in taxation. In fact, the Chamber of Telecommunications have announced, yes, almost every entity, every industry in this country have increased prices. But just because they didn't announce them, the Ghanaian public did not know that it was as a result of the recalibration of the tax structure. Now, don't expect the telcos to absorb the increment in taxes. After all, they will still need to pay for their overheads. That is on the increase. They will need to expand infrastructure. They will need to meet their tax obligations. And so the telcos, just like any other entity, would pass on the burden onto the poor consumer. And these are some of the things when we complain, then they simply will refer you to Free Senior High School. And so they give you with the right hand and then take with the left hand. And when you want to complain about they taking with the left hand, they say, look at what we have done for you in terms of Free Senior High School. Parents are going to pay more for voice and data. Even the students, I can tell you that most of the secondary school students today have smartphones. They are going to pay more just to be able to use telephone and internet services. And so we are vindicated as a minority, as a party in opposition, that there was an increment in taxation of the Ghanaian public. The MPP and the government refused. And I remember when the minister was presenting the budget, when he read those lines, he went to say, there has been no increase in tax. There has been no increase in VAT. Today, tell the telcos that they shouldn't increase because you didn't increase tax, you didn't increase VAT, and let's see whether they will listen to you. You must learn to govern with honesty. You cannot, you see, there's a saying that when you build a house with saliva and not water, the morning dew would collapse it. You lied about some of these things. The minister himself, and when you come to Parliament, Deputy Minister, you should know better on this matter than I do. After all, you are a lawyer. When you come to speak on the floor of Parliament, you are assumed to be under oath. And so you don't lie when you come to speak before Parliament. You are assumed to be under oath. And you know what it means when you lie under oath. And so the Ghanaian public are now waking up to the realities of what Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta did in terms of the recalibration of the tax structure, the luxury vehicles tax, the expansion of the PAYE, pay as you earn, the tax paid by those in the formal sector. All those things were increased. And look, the purpose is to rein in more revenue. If you look at line 19 of the mid-year review that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta presented, line 19, Mr. Speaker, based on the fiscal performance for the first 5 months of 2018, we have programmed the underlisted measures to ensure that we meet our fiscal deficit target of 4.5% of GDP to the end of the year. So the purpose is to get more revenue to be able to meet their 4.5% deficit to GDP. So it is worrying. And Randy, what is even more worrying is the fact that after the collection of all these taxes, and in a year, government raises no less than 40 billion through tax and non-tax revenue. They have borrowed not less than 40 billion since they assumed power. My worry is not just that we are paying so much in taxes. Government has nothing to show for that. I have constantly...
They are servicing debt.
Oh,
they are completing projects that you started.
Randy, what project are they completing? When you cannot deliver, the government has no record of initiating and delivering a CHIPS compound or a 3-classroom block nationwide.
Not initiating, but they are ongoing projects that
Randy,
they are seeing to its completion.
Where?
Some of the day schools are being completed.
Funding was cured even before they came into
those are government of Ghana.
We haven't constructed any classroom block. We have not constructed any chips. Nothing.
We are not.
Is that what you are saying? So sometimes give the people a little bit of, respect when we are speaking to them. Since we came to power, we haven't done anything.
Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister, I have just told you.
This is a powerful aim.
It's a powerful aim. I've just told you that in a year, you raised not less than 40 billion Ghana cedis, right? And they take your own budget, and you will know. You have borrowed. The debt level that you came to meet was about 120 billion Ghana cedis. Today,
let me give the rest of the time to the Honorable Deputy Minister.
Tell us.
Now, Joe, as I bring you in, one of our ardent viewers, who's a senior auditor and a senior accountant, he sent 2 messages, and I'll read them as you deal with the issue as well. Ben Mensah, the first one is that it's an insult to the good people of Ghana for the MPP government to use phantom forensic audits. They engage audit firms to indict, prosecute, name and shame individuals in a court of public opinion. You cannot engage an audit of individuals because they headed ministries and public institutions. These organizations are not singularly run by these individuals, but organizations have governing structures and boards. When yearly audits are performed to assess the financial position and compliance of law and the acquisition of goods and services, the audit report is normally handed over to the board with the executive summary. The executive summary is the embodiment of the whole audit. It contains all the findings extracted during the audit engagement. In the courts of competent jurisdiction, these so-called pre-forensic audits may not be accepted as evidence. That's one. 2, is that it's very dangerous the way this NPP government is raising tax from the front doors to the back doors. Yes, it's good to raise taxes to increase revenue, but it can also have an adverse effect on the economy and raise hardship on the people. The following are the negative effects of high taxes. 1, low income after taxes. Workers will take home less due to high taxes taken from their salaries. 2, revenue of employers will go down, meaning cut back on increase in expansion of business, cut back on salary increase, and possibly laying off workers. Where is the reduction of corporate taxes they promise from 25% to 20%? High prices of goods and services, that's 3. 4, increase in evasion of taxes through corruption. We can list more negative effects of high taxes. The increase in petroleum prices is having a very negative effect on the economy. Last week, I used Uber taxi services to do my errands. I engaged the drivers on their business. Most of them are using vehicles with an average engine capacity of 1.2 liters, but we're bitterly complaining on the price of petrol. I'm also an importer. Clearing goods at the ports, duties have gone up. Government is not seriously listening to the importers. The negative effect, reduction in import of goods. We can do better to make our economy work. Broader consultation is needed to fix our fragile economy. So as you come in, I want to say a big happy birthday to the former Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, Mrs. Marietta Brew Opon. Today is her birthday, one of my favorite persons. So happy birthday
Senior,
to
good morning.
To you, Mrs. Marietta Brew Opon. It's coming from Eduji, Tamakulu as well.
Eduji,
yes. I'm sure you've been seeing him in court.
That's my friend.
He's your friend. But when you guys meet in court, there's no
for that
paddy.
moment,
Okay.
exchange of a friendly fire.
Because I'm sure that at least on Cocoa Board you guys will meet.
Yes.
And NCA.
Yes.
Anyway, let me hear you on this.
See, I was yesterday. I was watching a news channel. I think 2 TV stations, and they were interviewing Ghanaians. Some stated clearly that they would like an improvement in the services of the telecos before they will accept to pay more for their services. Others stated clearly that they were not ready to pay more and all that. But let me put that in perspective. And I think that, paying more should be tied to good services. There's no doubt about that. I have one of the networks that sometimes for 3 days, I cannot make a call, I cannot receive a call. Later on, the network comes back, I make a call, I receive a call, I put credit on. Sometimes I don't even make call. And by the time I realize everything is gone and all that. So all these things, Randy, will need an improvement in their services. There's no disputation about that. The telecos themselves will have to put in place measures to ensure that there's improvement in their services. They have to make efficient delivery of services to consumers and all that. There's no dispute about it. Thereafter, we don't expect a stagnation of prices of their products at all times. That cannot be. From time to time, there will be a review of prices of these telcos, whether or not the issue of VAT standalone is implemented. Once in a while, they will make adjustments to their tariffs in consultation with the appropriate legal agencies that are responsible for their regulations and all that. So what we should be looking at most importantly is for them to improve their services. And in any case, whatever we are going to generate from these taxes are not going into anybody's private pocket. They are going to be plowed back into the development of our nation. And you know that most of the nations that have made it and have made progress in some of the countries, they actually bite hard as far as taxes are concerned, because government does not have to go to the moon to be able to raise and make revenue to be able to develop. We have to find the money to be able to do that. And remember, we shouldn't reduce the debate as though the government is only interested in taxes alone for development purposes. And they go to my village this year, and I know your village is one. I have a farm in your constituency.
Which part of the constituency?
I told you the other time.
Okay. Okay.
I have a farm there.
Okay.
Last year I did rice and maize at that place. You realize that
you pay royalties.
Last year and this year, of course, the harvest in the north is good. Of course, so our Greek sector, there is improvement. And when you go to industry, of course, there's some marked improvement and all that. So I think that by and large, marrying increases in taxes or implementation of robust tax policy and then production in agri and industry and all that will give us a very robust economy that will stand the test of time. So what I expect that we should be looking at is, as indicated, we should educate people as to the effect of the taxes we are implementing and the fact that in the end they are going to be the ultimate beneficiaries.
Why should the finance minister, why would he make a categorical statement that we have not increased VAT? This will not amount to a VAT. How long did he think he was going to outsmart anybody?
Randy, it's in terms of,
that day, I knew that day.
Yes.
I didn't want to get into an argument. I raised it on this program and I left it because I knew that when it gets to the stage of implementation,
there are problems.
That thing will be uncovered.
Randy, in terms of percentage calculation, there was no increase.
No, you see,
but the effect is because of the
you don't do this to, listen, why would you decide to make it stand alone? It is because you want a certain effect. And Randy, you want people to pay more, you want to rake in taxes. So what's the point in standing before us and after giving a Bible quotation, saying that it has not been increased?
Your own narration.
How long do you think that you were going to live this lie? How long?
Randy,
Minister,
how long?
Your own narration.
I think
You know,
can
sometimes
only
when I
give-
hear those things, it makes me feel like whoever is talking to me thinks I'm very daft.
No,
That's how I feel.
no. Let me
That I'm so daft
let me give you an
that
explanation.
I cannot see it.
Your own,
giving
your
me-
own media
He's
review.
giving me-
Because you have not said you are moving it from
17.
17 and a half
To
to
20.
18 or 19.
There's no increment.
So there's no increase.
Absolutely.
in tax.
So in
Even
terms
with
of
what
raw,
you have
in
done.
terms of raw figures, that was what he meant. But the effect will be what you are talking about.
No, I'm
these
more
are two
interested in the
different things.
effect.
In terms of raw figures, he didn't increase anything. That's a fact.
Joe,
But the effect
Joe,
in the standalone
Joe,
will lead
Joe,
to
I get your technical explanation.
Yes.
My point is that there is a structure for the tax. You decide that, look, you delineate these two and make them stand alone.
Yeah.
Because the effect of making them stand alone is that
Come with more revenue.
it will come with more revenue. People will pay more. That's the only
True or
thing.
false?
Now you're telling me, because you see, how to raise more money is not just in the increment of the number.
No.
You can also change the structure.
Which he did.
And then that will lead to people paying more and you making more money. Now you decide to change the structure, which will lead to that. And you tell me that because you have not increased from 17.5 to even
no increase in
17.6, you have not increased VAT.
We have
And I
increased
clap
tax.
for you. You see me as a very daft person.
That's not the case, right?
Yes, I'm telling you.
That's not the case. You see,
I'm telling you,
as
sometimes you see on social media, oh, the people are smart and they are smart and they managed to do the thing in some.
Randy, you know why? Randy, you know why they
the explanation I gave.
Oh,
The explanation I gave, you can only discount it if you go further to say that, look, in its implementation, the overall effect is that there will be increases.
But what's
taxes.
the point?
That
my
is
brother?
what you can say.
What is the point?
But in terms of the raw numbers, the truth of the matter remains that there was no increase in terms of the raw percentages.
Joe, the point,
That is
Joe,
a fact.
Joe, the point I'm
You
making,
dispute that
Joe,
fact.
Joe,
I
the
do.
point I'm making to you,
It's
I
not in
do.
dispute.
Joe,
I
the
do.
point I'm
I
making
do.
to you is
I
that
do.
me, as a Ghanaian, as a taxpayer, as a consumer, there are two ways of making me pay more. You either change the number, increase it, or you change the structure. Both ways, I get to pay more.
And you get
You
more.
decided that you will not change the number, but you change the structure. And then you stand in front of everybody and say that I have not increased it. And because I'm so daft, I believe that because it's not moved from 17.5 to 17.6 or anything above that, it is true, it has not happened. Now here I am,
Randy, let me
a few
give you-
months on, with the implementation of the new structure,
We are
this
paying
is
more.
what is happening.
Randy, let me
How
give you,
long
let
did
me
you
give you a
think you
background.
could get away with this kind of
Let me give you a
attitude?
background to what they did. Let me give you a background to what they did. Prior to the minister coming to Parliament, we had a roundtable discussion in Parliament, the minority, and we had preempted what they were coming to do. The initial intention was actually to increase the rate of VAT, but in a very smart way to portray us as being mischievous and that we had no clue of what they were coming to do. What they then did was to recalibrate VAT itself, leaving the original VAT at 12.5 and now making NH, health insurance levy and get fine levy as trade levies. We are not interested in the wording. We are interested in the effect. And you have said that the effect is that Ghanaians will pay more. That is the bottom line, which you must admit to. And your own narration, the narration of the minister himself, this is the media review, that the purpose was to allow you...
Purpose of what?
The recalibration was to allow them meet their fiscal deficit target of 4.5% to GDP. When you say that, what it means that you want more revenue. Where are you getting the more revenue from? From Togolese or Ivorians? From we the Ghanaians. And so you must admit to it. You can't
Joe, I was
outsmart
going to
Ghanaians on
go,
this matter.
but I've just seen this text on my thing, and it goes to the heart of what we were speaking earlier. I think it will only be fair for me to read. Do you know a guy called Samuel Brian Boabi? He's an aide at the presidency. His name was in the list. He's an aide at the presidency. He's very active on social media. Okay. Now he says, good morning. They are not willing to go to court. Bring the dockets incriminating the Eswa Mahama Luther government officials for them to be prosecuted, but the one ready to do it too. They don't want to. What is their motivation at the Aegis Department for this unpatriotic attitude? Who are those they who are those that you want to cover? Were they appointed to serve them by protecting their corrupt acts, or they were appointed to serve the people of Ghana? We will occupy AG department in due course. This is an aide at the presidency.
With such an emphatic statement?
Yes, I just read it, and I can forward it to you. I can let you read it yourself.
I would rather not respond to it.
A second one.
But I stand by what I said, that whatever docket comes to us and we are ready to prosecute, we go to court. That's what
we have no evidence and you are free.
Whatever docket comes and we are ready to go to court, we go. And we are already in court with some cases.
Tell them we have no evidence.
We shall go to court
and you are
with other
free.
cases that will be ready subsequently.
Tell them we have no evidence and you are free.
Anyway, all right. Do I hear the rains?
Oh.
Or is the AC?
Randy, I thought we were
Anyway.
going to get time to do.
Our time is fast spent.
Is it NAPCO?
The rich kids are here. Our time is fast spent.
Wow.
We need to go. The poor must go for the rich to come. Anyway. Well, it's a weekend. In everything you do, exercise some moderation. Hopefully, God willing, we'll be here with you again next Monday. Up next is Good Morning Ghana Plus with the rich kids of Metro TV.